The new split is just around the corner, and with us heading back to Kings Canyon, I'm here today to make sure you are 100% prepared for everything the new map and the new split has to throw at you. From avoiding and utilizing third parties, to abusing charge and jump towers, to the best POIs and rotations, by the end of this video, you'll be moving into the new split ready to reach the highest rank that you ever have gotten. And with that out of the way, let's get right into it. Real quick before we dive in, we've got the question of the day. What is your favorite map? With us moving away from Olympus, are you gonna miss it? Are you excited for Kings Canyon? Or maybe Stormpoint or World's Edge own your heart? Whatever it is, I want to hear about it in the comments below. Alright guys, so whether you're a newer player without a lot of reps on Kings Canyon or an OG since Season 0, it's important to take the time to analyze the current state of the map as well as how all the new legends and weapons impact how the map plays. While Kings Canyon might be the oldest map in the game, there have been so many changes to the game since its inception, and we haven't had the map in the ranked rotation in quite a while. Since then, we've seen Ashe and Mad Maggie come to the game, other legend changes, weapon changes, and the list goes on and on. All of these adjustments to the game can heavily affect the map indirectly, and even the map itself has actually seen quite a bit of change. If you just take your previous perception of Kings Canyon and apply it to this season, it's only going to get you so far. There are plenty of things about the map that are going to feel similar to the last time you played it in ranked. But the difference between hitting that rank you want to hit and falling just short is taking the time to really hone in on the things that are different. Having a good grasp on how changes affect the meta and how you should be playing the map in the current state of the game is how you truly level up as a player. With that in mind, let's take a moment to not forget the third-party madness that is Kings Canyon, and come prepared for it in the upcoming split. It's not really that large of a map, and the frequency of jump towers makes it feel even smaller. Add on charge towers and legends like Valkyrie being in the game, and you can traverse this map really quickly as a squad. The size also makes it incredibly likely that fights are within earshot of other teams. A combination of the map's features and the way players have learned to play it can make Kings Canyon very punishing if you're not fully prepared. All this in mind, let's walk through every stage of the game and talk about the most important things to keep in mind in Split 2 of Season 12. Starting at the very beginning, what legend should you play? Even if you're a one-trick and aren't looking to play other legends, it's still important to understand who is strong and why. While the legend meta might not affect what you play, it should always affect how you play, as many legends have kits that can totally change what their squad is capable of. High mobility picks that can always look to be aggressive like Octane, Wraith, Bloodhound, and Valkyrie should be in a really strong spot this split. Valkyrie in particular can be incredibly powerful due to the charge towers here on Kings Canyon. The ability to instantly recharge her ult can allow teams to chain Valk ult and traverse the map very quickly. Ashe and Mad Maggie are also new additions, and Ashe's portal in particular has got a lot of potential for this split. With all this mobility though, Gibby is usually the go-to defensive legend. Since he's always had a bubble in his pocket, he can always be ready to pop up a defense for his squad, regardless of how mobile they are. That being said, Caustic is also a great defensive option on Kings Canyon, and one of the strongest late game legends if you play around his setup. These are just some examples of the type of picks that will thrive on this map, but don't feel like you have to play them. What's important is to understand why they're strong, and then be prepared for what their kits can pull off. Even if you're playing a legend that ends up on our upcoming tier list towards the bottom, that doesn't mean you can't push high rank. If you understand why legends are strong, then you can play from their strengths and be prepared for any play they try to make. And if you're looking to be prepared for every play any player tries to make, there's no better kickstart to that journey than heading over to ProGuides.com. There, you'll find some of the best players in the world ready to share their knowledge and help you improve any aspect of your game. From prepping for Kings Canyon to improving your aim or decision making, these coaches have all the info you need to get to the top. So make sure to check it out in the top link in the description below. Alright guys, now moving into the dropship, where should you drop? While you should be dynamically dropping and adjusting your location based on where enemy squads are headed, you should look to have a solid rotation of POIs that you're comfortable dropping to. Having about 3 locations through various parts of the map that you plan on dropping to every game is a great place to start. This allows you to have one of them in basically every drop path without you having to drop to different spots in every single game. While you can be really dynamic with your drops and always look to go to an uncontested location, landing at the same few spots can help you get really comfortable looting and fighting there. On top of this, your drop dictates your rotation options. So if you're dropping somewhere new every time, you're always doing different rotations every single time. This level of inconsistency, not only in your loot and starting location, but also in how you traverse the map, really does set you up for failure. Every game is a learning experience, and the more constants you can keep in that experience, the more you can focus on the rest of your game. By having a couple of key POIs and rotations, you can get a lot of reps and be extremely comfortable in your games. Some recommendations would be Spotted Lake, Salvage, and Repulsor. Now, Spotted Lake is a great spot, with it being a little bit less contested than Crash Site. If you're headed to Spotted and see no one's going to Crash Site, you can always make the detour, but look to choose whatever is the least contested. Remember, while looting, you have explosive holes and loot ticks on Kings Canyon, so keep your ears open and save a nade for the extra loot. From Spotted, you have good rotation south through the pit or to Runoff, and then to the east you have Containment. You need to stay aware of teams that might have landed at Crash Site, as they could always try to rotate to you. Or if you're looted up and hear teams fighting there still, an early Crash Site rotation can sometimes open up options for early KP. If by some miracle squads didn't end up landing there, then you also have the north rotation to Artillery, and more loot than your squad will ever know what to do with. Spotted Lake has good loot while also having strong options in how to adjust your drop and your first rotation. Before we go to the next spot, guys, remember, when picking your spot, you are trying to climb, and dying early is detrimental to your RP gains. While we're going over having plans for how you want to play the game, you have to remain flexible, adjusting your drop if your normal spot is super hot. You're valuing your squad's life over everything else, so avoid dropping with more than one squad ever, and preferably finding uncontested drops. The 50-50 method can work, but just as the name suggests, you're gonna die off spawn sometimes. As we continue through some more examples of how you can play out your early games, just keep this in mind. Moving on to another great drop spot, Salvage. It's got solid loot with great supporting loot nearby. Gauntlet is a quick rotation if it's not heavily contested, and if it is, you can often get an isolated fight for some KP if you're looking to do so. Market often attracts squads, so keep this in mind. Normally, you'll want to rotate towards the north in some capacity, but if you want quick access to the center map because of a weird ring, or you're just looking to get involved, you can cut through the caves near Market. South towards water treatment is another hot direction, with that POI pulling at least 2 squads in most games. Now, I really like this drop because of the nearby supporting loot and the options on the rotation, but you definitely should be careful that you don't get caught up just wanting to push teams that you hear fighting. If you do decide to make a northern rotation like suggested, hug the west side of the map and avoid trudging through the open fields. This is a common theme in all your rotations, but always look to take the route with most cover. While there might not be a POI in the fields northwest of Salvage, these open areas are terrible spots to get caught up in a fight and can often mean the end for your squad. And last but not least, we have the Rig. This can be a far drop for a lot of circles, but it puts your back at the edge of the map, gives you solid loot and some great rotations. Broken Relay and Capacitor are both nearby, with Relay having a survey beacon and another one just west of Capacitor. There's a lot of elevation change in this area, so be careful about overstaying your welcome and getting held by a team as the ring closes. However, if you stay active with your looting and rotation, utilize the jump towers and charge towers, this can be a very strong drop. I also like it for its exclusivity. While you have a couple of nearby POIs you can rotate to, players often aren't going to rotate into the Rig, and you can usually count how many squads you have to plan on dealing with in those nearby spots. It's a pretty digestible area that lets you plan out your next move really well, and that's exactly what we're looking to do. You're usually late game by the time you're ready to go beyond these 3 POIs. And with there being 2 survey beacons nearby, you really don't have to go far to feel confident moving into the last couple of rings. However, if you do need to rotate quickly, you have plenty of jump and charge towers, as well as rotations in every direction. Just make sure you're being smart about your choices. Use up your survey beacons and don't get caught making a rotation away from the ring. So look guys, even if you don't decide to drop at the spots we just touched on, applying the process that I just went through in choosing those locations and deciding what rotations are strong is a must. Let's assume you do the planning, have a strong early and mid game, and now you're making your way into the late game on Kings Canyon. While we can't predict where the ring will close, you can use survey beacons and your game knowledge to make a pretty good guess. By constantly playing beacons and being aggressive about getting early ring position, you can set yourself up for success well before the last few squads. No matter if you can get a good ring position or not, you want to avoid fighting in these late game scenarios at all costs. As I just talked about, Kings Canyon is a third-party central and a lot of teams will lie in wait hoping to hear gunshots that they can push. Instead, most of the time, you want to be the team third-partying. If you make it to a top 5, prioritize getting a good spot in ring and map out where enemy squads are at. Your goal should be to let them fight, with you looking to third-party or clean up the final fight between the last 2 squads. Now, that sounds simple enough, right? While many of us know this concept, it's actually a lot harder to put into practice. If you get caught up in a fight at these later stages in the game, you need to end them quickly, armor swap, and instantly be ready for a team to push you. Not allowing members of your squad to go down is a must, because if the fights drag on or one of you go down, that's likely a game over because of a third party. Even if you beat out the first squad, the chance of another team pushing you is so high on this map. So look to avoid conflict in the late stages of the game, only taking the fights that are necessary. Whenever you can do so, be the last team to fight, find a power position to hold, and only get aggressive when you see advantageous opportunities to do so. Alrighty guys, if you can implement the things we discussed today, you're going to become a menace on Kings Canyon. While it can be a punishing map, that's only if you don't come in prepared. You can be the one dictating the pace of the game and harnessing the chaos of the map to help your squad come out on top. Anyway guys, as always, it's been your boy Valued. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to sub to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.